Hey enablers, happy Friday. Mike Kunkle here. Welcome to this week's edition of Sales Enablement Straight Talk. Today, I want to talk about how you can adapt the building blocks of sales enablement to your situation. You know, one of the pieces of feedback that I occasionally hear about the building blocks is that it's a very robust framework, and that's the nice version, and that it can be completely overwhelming for some people to consider or to try to implement. The building blocks framework is so overwhelming. Help! Look, I've tried so hard to provide a lot of practical advice about how to implement the framework. But look, I do understand the overwhelm for those who don't follow my work closely or haven't seen all of the resources that I provide to help with practical implementation. I do get it. So for this brief newsletter this week, I want to clarify a few things that I hope will help. You know the old joke about how do you eat an elephant, right? The answer is one bite at a time. And with the building blocks, it's not that much different. How do you implement the building blocks? One sensible phase at a time. Now, what does that look like? I'm glad you asked. To get started, we always do a situation assessment of the sales force. Determine your current state and the desired future state from your sales leaders and executive team's perspective using the coin-op model. What are the gaps between point A and point B? And if you can make the transformation, what will the impact be? Next, you do a gap analysis of the building blocks. Assess and rate the current and desired future states of each block based on how each supports the journey from the current state to the desired future state of the above situation assessment for your very own sales force. I like using a sliding scale for each block where you plot your current state and desired future state on the scale, but you can use any rating system that makes sense to you. I think about it this way. Which blocks are Geffen, good enough for now? Which are missing and need to be added? Which are in place but must be improved? And if any are being overdone, which can be de-emphasized, at least for this next phase? And all of this is in context of the situation assessment that you did for your sales force. It's not rocket science, right? It's just logical, strategic business planning applied to sales enablement. Yet I can almost hear some of you saying, okay, Smarty Pants Kunkle, what if there were a lot of gaps in the blocks needed to support the situation assessment journey? What then? And you know, that's a fair question. And the answer is, develop multi-phased plans. This is just like an instructional designer who's developing a complex sales onboarding program. You can use the concepts of prerequisites and chunk, sequence, and layer your initiatives like they would with a curriculum. Chunk like topics together, sequence them in an order that makes sense, and when you have one chunk done, layer another one on top. And that's it. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. It needs to be staged based on what outcomes matter most to your senior sales leader and what it will take to get there. To wrap it up today, my last piece of advice is to then use a continuous improvement loop. Working through your phases based on business priorities, you can begin to plug other holes as time and resources allow, but always prioritizing your primary focus on what's needed next to get to where you want to go. And that's it for this week. Happy eating, enablers. And as always, make an impact with enablement.